This is my Ameritron AL-1500 amplifier. This is a very fine amplifier. MFJ gets kind of some crap sometimes for some of the stuff they make, but I really believe they do a good job with their Ameritron line. They're really well manufactured and really a great value, I think, in the amplifier market. The Ameritron AL-1500 has a version of the 8877 tube, be it the IMAX CX 1500 A7 or the various non-US made 8877s. Save a few bucks on those. But the amplifier can truly produce as much power really for any mode, with the exception of perhaps AM, as any ham could need. Easy to tune. As you can see, I have kind of pre-tuned markings set up on mine, and I think that's well worth the time of anyone that plans to operate and change bands with any level of frequency. It's very reliable. You can spin right back to the markings you make on it, and you're ready to go and operate on that band with no problems and no additional tuning. And you really probably extend the life of your amplifier as well, because you're not going through the process of tuning and being out of tune as you're trying to work toward tune, really, because you kind of have those things predefined. So I really definitely recommend that. That improved the quality and enjoyment of my operation with this amplifier significantly. So yeah, this amplifier does not lack anything in the way of power. It's one concern. You'll probably notice if you have one of these, or the AL-1200 or the AL-82, basically the same core amplifier, just with different tubes. The 82 being a pair of three 500Zs, and the 1200 having the big iMac 1200, whatever it is, tube that can handle a ton of abuse. But this is a very fine amplifier here, the AL-1500. But the problem you might have if you have one of these, or your primary concern, might be the noise. Anything where you're going to create this much power means you have to get significant enough cooling to cool the amplifier and the tube, and that just means it's going to make some noise. You can't cool without air in this particular case, and you can't move a lot of air without a lot of noise. So a couple things I did that significantly increased my enjoyment of this amplifier is created a series of sound insulation to help dampen that noise, which means I can run the amplifier basically at full blower volume without any real concerns of the noise being too high in terms of the ambient noise within the shack. So a couple things. First thing I did was I opened up the amplifier, took it all apart, and got some sound dampening material that's heat resistant, and I put it inside all the internal chambers of the amplifier. And I also built a little box with that around the blower, which helps really isolate that sound from within the blower, coming from the blower from the amplifier. And that made a heck of a lot of difference. The second thing I did, and I'll walk around here, was I built a baffle. And this baffle I made of the same sound dampening material as what I used to line the interior of the amplifier, and I put that baffle over the blower's output hole where the hot air is coming from on top of the amplifier. And I angled it back so it angles the air up and away and out the back of the amplifier. And that makes it actually might be the single biggest difference. So you might look at that if you want to do something simple without even needing to open up your amplifier to modify it. And then the last thing I did was created this wooden box I put around the amplifier. And then inside of the wooden box I put like a Dynamat type material used for automotive sound dampening around the inside of the box. You have to make sure you make the box in such a way there's space for the input of the air intake on the left side of the amplifier if it's facing you, and enough space around it that cool air can get in here into the box to make sure your amplifier has sufficient airflow. So now I can get air into the intake side because it's open down here, and I got about an inch and a half or so between that. Even more space above for cool air to come into the amplifier here. Goes in through the blower, cools the amplifier with the internal sound dampening material I've installed inside of the AL-1500. and then it comes out the top of the amplifier, through the baffle, and back out away from my operating position. So altogether, that makes for a significantly quieter AL-1500, and really kind of removes the only thing about this amplifier I found undesirable. You can find a lot of these amplifiers on the used market for a heck of a deal. You know, I've looked at, and at some point I may get in the future an auto-tune type amplifier, just for serious ease of operation. But with the preset tunings for the amplifier, the internal sound dampening I installed inside of the amplifier, the baffle to direct the sound and the heat away from the amplifier, from the blower output, and then this little casing I made to go around the amplifier. Boy, she's quiet, she runs great, she doesn't get too hot. It's really pretty fantastic. If you have one of these amplifiers, I recommend checking out and considering those couple of options. Take care. K5PO.